No, that's a good. That's a good point. Good evening, folks. Welcome everybody to Big Footy Tiger Cast. Hope you're doing well on this Monday night. We were just joking off air that at least we're not going to be North Melbourne's first win this season. So it's a two-pronged. One, it's nice that we're coming to do a show after a win, which we'll also talk about very shortly. But number two, that we will not be the first win that North Melbourne get in 2024. So two good things happening this week. Well, there's a few good things. Obviously, a few teams lost that we're happy that they lost, and it's muddling up some ladder positions, which is always nice. But gentlemen, how are we? CB, welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen. Going well, mate. Nice and cruisy. Long weekend. I actually forgot the show was on tonight, so I got used to having another day off, and I was out of routine. So thank you for messaging me, mate, because I wouldn't have turned up if you hadn't a message.
No, that's right. The public holidays do throw me sometimes as well. That you just like it kind of feels like a Sunday, and then you're waiting for that work day to roll around, and then it starts to make sense again. But no, good. Appreciate you being here. And Grok, how are you, mate? What's going on?
Yeah, going well. That was like me this morning. Woke up at 6:30, started getting ready for work, and then I realised it's King's birthday. Don't have work today. Always good, as you said. Always good to jump on after a win, and even better to jump on after a massive Geelong choke. So it's even better. Such a great weekend.
Jesus, plenty to unpack there. With that one, they got off to a fly, didn't they? And they looked like they were going to be home for all money, and they just absolutely bottled it. So we're still the only team to knock off the Swans.
Up by 6 goals, lose by 5. What a job.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's bad, isn't it? That's really bad. But it's funny how it works. I think we've talked, like all of us have talked about in some capacity, that Swans game definitely felt like a point in time where we had our best available, like our strongest team unit on the park for that 1 week. And I know, look, maybe the Swans had a bit of an off game as well. I think that's not too disrespectful to say, but we managed to piece it together. And yes, to still be the only team to knock them off is quite some feat.
Well, the two games that we fielded close to our best 22 were the Carlton and the Sydney games, and they were the two games that we probably should have won. We should have knocked off Carlton, and obviously we knocked off Sydney, but our pressure on that game against Sydney was just brilliant.
Oh, it was off the chart. It was quite insane.
Just on the Geelong theme, boys, do you realise by the end of round 15, depending on results, Geelong could be knocked out of the 8?
Yeah.
Just
imagine doing that. What was it a 7-0 start they had?
Yeah, just bookmark that one, boys and girls. Just stay tuned within 2 weeks to see if they're still in the 8 or not.
Jeez, that would be some turnaround. Any other topics that popped up before we get stuck into our game? Was there anything else that was meaningful that we wanted to talk about? That's not a loaded question. I was just seeing if anyone else had anything to discuss first.
What about this Vic bias discussion going around over the umpiring decisions from Saturday? The 3 Victorian clubs, one in controversial.
Well, they were 3 howlers, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's howlers all over the shop. So I think someone floated today, do we need to go back to the three umpires with one on the interchange, but I don't think that doesn't really eliminate the actual problem of the amount of interpretation. So it's definitely a topic for discussion. Vic, hello from the Eiffel Tower. Jesus. Welcome.
Bonjour.
That is very, very good. Just be careful that you don't get mugged at the base of the Eiffel Tower.
Eating her cheese, drinking her wine.
Watch out for some Geelong supporters, Vic.
You can bring back some cheese for some Melbourne supporters as well. They'll be on the hunt for some cheese and crackers in September. Oh, dear. Wow, the Eiffel Tower. All right, well, there's a few things on the topic, on the agenda tonight in terms of the Tigers. We'll leave the most obvious one till later on when we talk about the next game. But Thursday night, the Tigers went over to Adelaide and got a seemingly unlikely win, although I did pick on the show that we would win by 11 points. I was pretty happy with that. Richmond knocking off the Crows 12-7-79 to 10-11-71 by 8 points. It was a really gutsy effort, to be fair. They threw everything they had at us late, and I suppose we're all maybe thinking, when's the dam all going to break? Are we going to, get run over with the young kids tiring again? But just having those couple of extra experienced players back in the sides like your Taranto, Prestia, it really does make a hell of a difference when it comes down to those nit and gritty moments, doesn't it?
Cool. Do you want to talk about the first brain snap that I had that I might have messaged you, Michaels, with some offensive language in it, which I thought was going to cost us the game? Can we
go
just
on.
say on what's his name? Cumberland. That free kick he gave away, like that's the stuff that shot for Kaczynski, that would have iced the game there and then, and we could have been on absolute party time and get into it. But I'll say this: we shouldn't hang the bloke for one brain snap, because we've forgiven Dylan Grimes an awful lot of times and other more credentialed footballers for dumb moments. So let's just forgive Cumbo on that one. And but I tell you what, the text messages ran hot at that moment on my phone.
Yeah, look, I probably did make it an emotive tweet saying we should sub him on the spot for it. Maybe in hindsight, it was a bit harsh, but I just get so annoyed and like we all do, with just the dumb shit things we do. Like, we're already battling enough as it is with the injury list and all that kind of stuff, young kids coming through. We don't need to be giving away goals. And for people who say it was a soft shove, he didn't exactly just walk up to me. He fully eyeballed him. Like, he got that velociraptor look in his eyes and charged at him. It was always a 50. It was nothing soft about it, whether you want to think that Keane flopped or not. It was always going to be paid, and there was just no need for it. I never understand why any player from any team engages in any physical contact when their teammate's having a shot for goal. It just blows my mind.
And the flip side, that Irish flopper on Channel 7 trying to rub out Kaczynski for that elbow was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
That was I was looking for the second shooter on the grassy knoll, JFK style, to see who shot the bloke, because he was in tears. Right, it was like a soccer match, like a soccer foul. It was so crap, and the guy should have been done for borderline staging. I don't care.
See, I'm going to play devil's advocate here on Cumbo. I think you mentioned players like Grimes and Nank. They've got the runs on the board, though, and they're best 22. Cumbo, for someone who's had attitude problems, body language issues, and is struggling to crack the best 22, for him to go and do something like that, I think that shows why he's not in the best 22. He just doesn't have that emotional maturity yet. And, like, I think, again, just dumb thing to do, situational awareness, as you said. Yeah. We should have iced the game. And
to Warren's point, I don't mind a bit of aggro, but there was another way he could have just literally gotten to his face and started mouthing off, and he would have had the exact same effect, but no free kick against, and we have that shot on goal.
Wait for Cozzy to kick the goal and then get the
yeah, there's plenty of other ways he could have showed his assertiveness and to rub it into him without actually reversing the free kick. The moment you shove someone like that, game over. And I do acknowledge that he obviously had 4 or 5 blokes jump into him after it. Maybe could have got reversed, but just don't put yourself in that situation to reverse the free. And he did have a very good game up until that point. I think he'd kicked 3 goals, and I really want him to go on with it. But yeah, it's just a time and a place, and there's better ways to do it. Just we can't afford to be jibbing ourselves with shots on goal.
Yeah, they demonised Cozzy for the elbow, but what they don't realise, and it's the same as the Hooley on Lamb incident, is they were getting scragged off the ball. Hooley didn't have possession of the ball. Lamb was all over him holding. Same thing with Keane. He was scragging, holding, everything on Cozzy. Cozzy elbows him, and all of a sudden Cozzy's the bad guy. Just pay the free kick for Cozzy for the hold in the first place, and it doesn't happen.
Mate, there must be about 150 of those elbows thrown to their opponents during a game. And this is still bullshit.
The thing that shit me about that was the amount of holds. I can't remember what game it might have been, last night's game. In the Essendon Carlton game, the amount of holds that Curnow and McKay got for the little arms are around. In that instance where you see Cozzy elbow Keane had both arms around Cozzy in the first place. It's like, why are they paying them in one game and not in others?
This is a good question from Sci-Fi before we get into the stats, because I don't know the actual answer, but we've all seen the footage of Bolter going off at seemingly the cameraman. I heard mixed stories that there was Adelaide players behind, but a lot more people seem to think it was at the cameraman. What happened? Does anyone know what happened?
All I heard was he
apparently
just told the cameraman to get away.
Yeah, told him to politely F off.
Exit the area.
Apparently they watching the telecast, they were following Cumberland after that incident. Cumberland, you could tell, was pretty down on himself, poor body language, head down as he was walking off. wasn't acknowledging the pats on the back from his teammates and just trudging off. And Baltus sort of stepped in between the cameraman and Cumbo and gave them the Croatian death stare.
Good.
Fair enough. No, I don't think too much is being made of it, Julian. It's a pretty costly mistake. I know he won the game, but it could have almost cost us the game. He needs to do better. I don't care how old or young you are. You're a professional footballer. Don't give away a free kick when someone's having a shot for goal. It's just frustrating. Anyway, back to the more positive stuff with the players' stats. Now, I don't want to feel like I'm going the early crow here, but Jaden Short felt like he was back in some capacity with 31 disposals. I haven't checked efficiency on him, but 704 metres gained is backed up to his elite standards of metre gained, areas, which is very good. Tim Taranto, 26. Liam Baker, 24. They were probably the best for the Tigers. Dan Rioli, 20. But I know we've all probably had a fair bit to say about Shorty in recent weeks, and I think it's been warranted. What did you make of his game against the Crows?
Sorry, I was reading the comments. Who was that one?
About Short. What did you make of Shorty's game?
Best game he's played all year. So, but again, is that type of game? Is that where you get a few more senior boys in around through the midfield, which takes the pressure off the ball? You know what I mean? We get a bit more midfield ascendancy and get the ball going a bit more forward our way, which takes the pressure off the back line so they can set up better. Is that where Shorty had a better game, do you think? Or he had more assistance, more help?
I think the two biggest things for me were obviously we had much better midfield defensive transition with Taranto and Prestia in. But the biggest thing for me was there was no, Adelaide generally don't have amazing pressure forwards who hunt the halfback flankers and smother them. And I think that's where he shines. So the fact that they weren't really pressuring us with the ball in their forward line, Shorty's going to have a massive game, and he went at 77%. So
he needed that, and while it wasn't the best game he's ever played, I think if we're talking in comparison to the previous months, he really did need a game like this to get his confidence back, and hopefully he can go on with it and build on it.
Can we talk about the two blokes I want to talk about because they both had outstanding games? Firstly, I'm pretty sure K-Mac did a line or whatever drugs Joe Biden's on before he does an address to the nation. I'm pretty sure Camden got shot up with some Biden drugs because he was unhinged that first quarter. And Hugo Ralphsmith, again, the two wingers, outstanding work defensively, but their run and what they did was outstanding work from our wingers.
Yeah.
Best 7-possession game you'll see from Hugo.
I was about to say, if people didn't watch the game and they just read the stat line and heard CB's comment, they're like, come on, mate, you've got 7 touches. But what he doesn't get a stat for, I don't think anyway, is the amount of times he ran back with the flight of the ball or made up ground running back hard the other way on the wing to get a timely spoil in or a finger touch in so they didn't get a mark was unbelievable. I would love to see how many Ks he racked up and maybe even the sprint speed numbers, but they were both very good. And K-Mac hitting the scoreboard as well, CB, we'd love to see it.
Well, can I say this? Given how well our wings are going at the moment, and this isn't a shot at anyone, I'm just saying, think his strategic hats on, his selectors' hats. Currently, I don't see a spot for Marlon. As players return, I don't see a spot for Marlon Pickett. I think Hugo's got that wing.
Yep, I agree. And I think Pickett's needed a rest over the last few weeks anyway. He's been woeful.
And we've been screaming for Hugo to try and claim that wing spot for a while. It always seemed like his natural spot to step up into, just because he's got that same work rate as what K-Mac does. Maybe not as tall or as strongly built yet. I know he's not going to get taller, but it just seems like for the whole game, he's always got another gear. Like he's able to burst through the middle on rebound, and players struggle to catch him. Once he gets half a foot in front of him, he's gone.
Yeah, I think we've got the balance right with the wingers, where we've got a defensive winger in K-Mac, but we've got an offensive wingman in Ralphsmith. So we've got both ways covered now. When we had Pickett and McIntosh, it was all defensive. Like we just struggled to move the ball past halfway when they were in. At least with Ralphsmith taking the game on with his speed and line breaking, we can actually move the ball. And we're moving the ball a little bit better down the wings now that we've got that run with him. Just on K-Mac too, I think his form's gotten a lot better now that we've got some more defensive, like midfield defensive transition in. He doesn't have to do the full running up and down the wings to be that transition between midfield defense, he can now, start moving forward as we've seen the last couple of weeks. I think that's massive as well. He's not getting as tired throughout the game, having to do all the running for those midfielders who don't chase.
Yep.
Now, Tim Taranto, first game back for, what was it? It was 8 or 10 weeks, something like that. Might have even been longer.
Around 4, I think.
Was it really? Okay. So, yeah, right. So it's been a long time coming from that broken wrist. And it was a very pleasant return, 26 disposals, 4 marks, 8 tackles, pleasingly, was a really good stat, which was equal high with Ryan Mansell, 6 clearances. I mean, it just makes such a difference coming back into the side, because it just means that all those other young kids who are playing as your premium 1 midfielder now get to go down another spot on that list and actually fill the role they're probably more suited to playing at this point in their career. And it just spreads the load so much more. So a very welcome return for Taranto.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the other player you mentioned there, Mansell. He had an absolute ripping game as well. Yeah. His pressure up forward, I think, 8 tackles, hit the scoreboard, and he's getting involved now. He's getting reward for his work rate, pushing up the ground as well. So
2 goals.
Fantastic game, yeah. And he's a reliable set shot as well. Every time he gets the ball now, I'm pretty confident he's going to nail it.
My biggest regret is for the weekend on that game. The Tigers were over 450, and I was tempted to put a sneaky on us. I just thought with Taranto and Presti coming, I thought, without Dusty, I thought, and I'm kicking myself for that. But I'll say this too. So we gave him a clip, but there's got to be a bit of love for Cumbo, because he was our best scoring wise. He was our best forward and did some really, really good things. And he he's had a good couple of weeks actually, Cumbo. Like last week, his defensive acts were very, very good. And now he's hit the scoreboard this week. So, and we needed a forward to stand up and kick multiple goals, and he did that. So, he's really happy to see him do that.
He's roving the pack goals really, really good. He was pretty much the only player that got on the move there, and he obviously knows he's a left footer, so he got into the right spot perfectly and hit it nicely. So, had a couple of really good passes. When he passes, he often does kick them quite flat and hard, so they get to the designated spot very quickly, which is good. So, look, he definitely has had some really good moments, and I really hope he can go on with it and just eradicate the other stuff.
Another pleasing thing for me was Cozzy's third quarter. I thought he really stepped up in that third quarter, competed, took a lot of contested marks. I thought he didn't really. I think he only had 4 disposals up until 3/4 time, but his work rate and contest in that third quarter was the big reason why we hit the front when we did.
Yes.
You go.
On Cozzy, there was a moment in the first quarter, and Siva, you texted me when it happened, and I was thinking the same thing. When he came flying out of nowhere and just intercept marked or spoiled, or did something coming out of the back line, looked unbelievably good. And then we kind of then moved him forward for the rest of the game, which is interesting.
I think it was almost like someone gave him his balls. Said, here you go, son, actually play with a bit of aggression. And, it's the first time I've seen him play with aggression like at any stage of Richmond jumper, and it made a difference. Hitting those packs, and his work at ground level was good as well. So I thought he competed really. Second half gave us just a glimpse of what he could possibly offer. So yeah, it was good.
4 tackles from him as well. That's a great number for someone of his size. And again, we're not needing him to be Jack Riewoldt 2.0. We're needing him similar to Samson Ryan, bring the ball to ground, compete hard, and give us a chance. If you mark it, bonus, have your shot at goal. But I think that was a much better performance from him.
Absolutely.
Can we just give Seth Campbell the number 9 jumper now? Can we just do that?
There's been a lot of talk about this, a lot of talk.
How was his goal from 45, that run, and then just from the boundary to back himself? The ball's on that kid at that moment of the game. Nice, fantastic.
I'm actually surprised. He's actually, I know he's quick, but he's actually quicker than I thought he was, if that makes sense. Like he's like a greased rat up a drain pipe. When the ball hits the ground, he's out. No one's catching him. He's skilled. He's hard at it, mate. This kid. If we're not trying to put him on the pill next year, I'll be bitterly disappointed or get him in the rotation, because he shows traits that suggest that he could play on the ball down the line.
100%.
He was good. What did he kick? 2 goals? I think it's he's just growing in confidence, and I think you can sort of see starting to believe that he belongs at the level, which is really good to see. I suppose his only criticism from the first few games he played was he was maybe a little bit slower on getting rid of the ball, just with the speed of the game being different to VFL. But you can already see that starting to play out a lot better for him, which is good. Bolter down back, I thought had an extraordinary game down back. The iron fist, he was spoiling anything and everything that went his way. And look, as much as I would love to see him play forward, because I do think he's got some amazing forward line traits, you just can't help but love him in that defensive role, coming up over the top of packs and just pelting the crap out of the ball out of bounds.
Did anyone see him do the Alex Rance? He punched a ball over the boundary line, and he was jogging off with the fisting like Rance he used to do. That was great.
Yeah, who would have thought, an All-Australian under-18 centre-half back who spent all of his career mainly as a defender, who's been developed as a defender, plays his best role as a defender. Who would have thought
it? He was good. He was good.
Coaches, when I say a square hole, try and ram a round peg in it. You know that, don't you? Just to prove a point.
The one thing I do like about Bolter the last couple of weeks is he's kicking long now. I think he's realised anything under 40 metres, he generally stuffs up. So he's just putting the boot in now, just getting it long down the line.
Does this actually finally put to bed the forward experiment? Do we now all acknowledge, can everybody get on the same page and say, he's a defender? We know he can play forward like Silvani used to or what have you, but primarily he's a defender. Can we all agree on that?
Has to be.
Oh, yeah, I think he has to be, but we've got, if he plays there, I know we've got injuries, but when everyone's fit, we've almost got surplus of that type of player.
Well, Lynch is back this week, so Bolter's definitely not going forward now.
No, that's right. That's right. So you're definitely going to play Lynch and Ryan as the two forwards or Cozzy. But, when Gibcus is back, when Young's back, it makes for interesting discussion position-wise next year.
Well, Grok, can we just go back a step because you've just gone ahead. You just gone ahead half an hour in a conversation. So Lynch definitely in.
Well, that's what's going around the club. They bookmarked Dusty's 300th as Lynch's return date.
Geez, I hope it's not ahead of schedule and it's actually a legit he's back.
Well, he did a training run last week, got through it all really well. So yeah, they're primed for him to return this week.
I'm not going to moz him. Hopefully, just boys, if Richmond, if you're listening, keep Louis away from him for just 5 more days. Just keep Louis away and don't let him anywhere near Tom Lynch for the next week. Can you please do that, Richmond?
Ben Miller, another very good game from Miller. 7 marks. I'm really enjoying his composure and his work down back. This is one that Tiggs called for a long way out, that he was always going to be a player, and he's starting to settle into that role. Again, feels like he belongs, which is good. So I think he is slotting in very nicely into that back 6.
And just credit to Richmond too. We're just starting to slowly re-sign players without any fanfare. Miller's got 2 years. Mansell, Nankervis. There's a few boys now just starting to put pen to paper. And we're starting to get that list of about 20 blokes down on the contract re-signing.
Mm. Is that a Duff beer, CB?
I'm having a very potent green tea. That's how I like to live my life these days, on the edge.
Now, the other play I want to bring up, which and I won't go into too much of my side of the story, but because that's been on Twitter enough. Tom Dow, I thought he had another really good game. And I think if people actually understood his role within the team in relevance to where we're at as a team, I think it's hard to knock him, but people still find a way to.
Yeah, the one knock I have is he needs to kick a little bit more, especially when he's got free. Like there were quite a few times on the game on Saturday where he was 10 metres in the clear with the defender coming at him, and instead of choosing to kick, he hand passes backwards to someone who had a defender on him. And I think that in that situation, he just needs to know the best option there is to kick. I'm not sure if he thinks his kicking's not great or if it's a directive, but in certain situations, he needs to kick a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think, again, Dow, like Hugo, has had a very good 5-6 week patch. This kid's still sub 20 games. He's taken a hell of a lot of burden on while there's been no support. And let's just talk about that. How good was that Marky? He took an absolute beautiful clunk.
He did take a good one.
Absolutely.
So, and can I just say, I think Lee Middleton, few contracted players on the move. Don't believe all you read. If you're talking Dan Rioli and those guys, don't believe all you read. They've got to get clicks. They've got to sell shit.
It's criminal.
Don't bind it.
And the final one, I think, Kane McAuliffe, I thought had a pretty good game in the very, very limited game time that he had, and I'm kind of hoping he gets a full gig next week. But I really like the look of him. I truly like the way he goes about, and I can understand why he was subbed, but I hope that means he gets a full game in the seniors this week.
Well, with Prestia, I mean, obviously,
that's report only a knock. He went into the game a bit sore, but they're saying it was only a knock to the calf that was already sore.
Apparently, he went for scans today, though.
Okay.
So, yeah, like with Prestia's history, that knock is probably going to be a 3-week hamstring, knowing him. So there's like, even if it was a knock, there's still no guarantee he's going to play. Like, yeah. I would like to see McAuliffe start.
Well, and I think I sent Michaels the message as well. Like, having that, just as the way the game panned out, having that big bull midfielder ready to come on when the pace is out of the game, when players are gassed, and we've got a bull to come in, and he really, what was it, 7-8 touches in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
McAuliffe, 7 touches. Yep, and a tackle.
Yeah.
2 clearances.
Yeah. He impacted in the right manner and helped get us over the line, to be honest.
So if you extrapolate that by 12, what's that? 24 clearances and 84 possessions.
Yeah. This is a good point from Rocky in regard, and I know players are media trained to within an inch of their life, but I tend to agree with you, Rocky, that his interview, if you listen to it, I don't know, and you just sort of pick things out that are of interest, it does very much sound like he's well bought into what we're doing and isn't going anywhere, which I know maybe still flies in the face of a lot of other information that we've heard, but it was just interesting to hear that type of language come out of his mouth and, not someone else about him.
Yeah. And then speaking of the other interviews, did anyone get worried about a short? Apparently a lot of people were convinced that Shorty's interview, when he was asked about Dusty, they reckon Dusty will retire based on what Short said. And I was like, that's weird. And I went back and watched it, and all Shorty said was he's glad or something that he's been able to play his footy alongside Dusty for as long as he has, or something along those lines. It was about playing footy with Dusty. I'm like, how do you extrapolate that Dusty's going to retire at the end of the week up from that?
There's only two things I know. Dusty's not playing for Gold Coast next year, and Dusty isn't retiring mid-season. They're the only two confirmed things that I know. That's all I'll say.
Very good. We'll happily take that. All right, before we get into the game against Hawthorn, CB, you did shoot us a text.
Oh, fuck. Did you not get the email from the lawyers?
No, it might hit spam folder. I must have missed it. And it did begin with, now hear me out, and that was the only part of the preview that came on my phone. I did chuckle. I'm like, oh, this will be good. And you did subsequently cop a bit of abuse from EJ about it. I can understand the logic, but do you want to explain what your theory was?
Look, I did say hear me out, and I did say I was going to cop a lot of shit for this. However, right,
face it.
Tiger Cast, hear me out. Right, the guy's a wanker. He's a flog. I don't think he'll fit our cultural model, but he could represent a salary dump if we need to dump for a couple of years, and we do need another tall player that has some experience. And I did suggest. I don't even want to say it. People are going to yell at me.
It's not Dimple.
I did suggest Rory Lobb, as possibly wouldn't cost us much to bring him in as a dump. But I understand any white guy with that horrible bleached blonde hair that is soft as butter. It doesn't fit our model. I get it, but as a salary dump and someone who could possibly fit as a good, like I think that Ron Naismith did or what have you, like, whereas Lobb can actually play forward as well. I just thought his insurance probably wouldn't be the end of the world. Brock? Help?
Yeah, see, I've been with you on this ever since they reported that he's out of the Dogs. Like, you have a look at our ruck and our forward situation this year. Like, if Nank goes down, we are boned.
Yep.
Lobb's only going to cost us $300K. Offering bare minimum, get him across, and he's going to offer us more than what Samson Ryan does.
Oh wow!
So
I'm not too against it either, but for the same reason, it's an insurance thing. But my reply to CB was, I'm not sure if he fits the no dickhead policy. But that aside, he's definitely a better player than some of the other players mentioned if he can get his shit sorted. Comments flying through. So what was EJ's message to you about this? What did he call up with?
No, it wasn't a message. He rang me. He drove off the road and just abused me.
Too angry to even text. He had to call me.
He nearly deleted my number out of his phone. He was that upset. Like he was genuinely offended. He said, I've said a lot of controversial things to him over the years. And he goes, but that's the most offensive thing I've ever said to him.
Oh gosh. I can't keep up with it.
Before we go into the Dusty stuff or what have you, can we just talk about the VFL and
Absolutely.
Another tremendous win by Morrow and the guys, and they'll be a bit better again next week. And can I just say, Sam, is it Toshi or Tosh? How do you?
Chris Tosh.
Is it Tosh, the new recruiting manager?
Yeah.
It looks
Tosh.
like he's picked an absolute Jaffa from the Pure Thunder.
I missed the result and the stats. So what did we win by? And did one of the new kids
40
stand out again
points.
today?
Well, yeah, Port Melbourne have been a real big bogey team for us over the years, and we did them easy. And by all accounts, Hayes Brown, the basketball project player, dominated in the ruck. 43
hitouts. Let's go Tigers. Jesus Christ.
And
First VFL game too.
Yep.
Wow.
He had 11 possessions too or something.
Yeah, and this Blight kid, I reckon this Blight kid, he'll play senior footy before the year's out. I'm convinced he'll get a run at it in some capacity. But again, I just want to mention the VFL boys in the program. Morrow's doing a wonderful job, and another really good win against a team that normally has the wood over us and keeps us in touch for finals. So well done.
Absolutely. Yeah, Banks had a really good game too. He had 37, kicked a decent goal. The one that really annoys me though is we passed on our last pick in the mid-season rookie draft.
I was available.
Sam Davidson. Like, you see him tearing up, playing as a wingman who can go forward. He had another 4 goals on the weekend. Absolutely dominated. Like, that kid should be on an AFL list this time next year. He's just that good.
And I suppose at the same time, if you're wanting to watch young talent, the national champs is also one as well. So we'll try and get some info on that to see what kind of players we might be looking at as well. But that's good to hear about. Yeah.
Harry Scott's boy. So Alistair Scott used to play for Richmond in the early 90s, was an undersized full forward. His boy Harry Scott out of the middle is a bit of a sleeper too. He's actually shown some really good form in the guts.
Looked solid on the weekend.
Yep.
And that's the thing. We've got a lot of decent young talent coming through our VFL side, and they're looking very good.
Does anyone know what was wrong with Fawcett? I'm not sure
He had stress fractures in his back. He came back from the glandular fever. Obviously, he had the glandular fever. Was gone for a month and a half. Came back and he's got stress fractures in his back. It's just had rotten luck.
But yeah, okay, that's good for the VFL. That's good. But it's submission to see if either of the 2 mid-season recruits can crack a game. It sounds like if one of them's taking intercept marks down back at will, we're a chance. But Gray may be less likely. I'm guessing if Lynch is returning and can hold up, because Samson Ryan and Kaczynski will probably play the people are still getting over CB's call.
I'm turning my phone off. I'm actually deleting my Twitter account. The PMs I'm going to get. You're a fucking.
Oh, so good.
All
right. Well,
the national championships. Keep an eye out for Jonty Fall, who I believe is playing for Vic Country because he's from the Rebels. As a forward, he's the one that we've got our eye on for one of our first picks.
Here's a quick question without notice. We've obviously got some more troops coming back in. Maybe we've got some confidence about us. Do we want to keep winning? I don't want to say the word tanking, but the enticement of pick 2 is nice, but I don't want to be getting smacked either.
The reality is the players want to win, so they'll play to win. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. If the
Eagles, I'm happy for that.
Yeah, if the Eagles don't get smacked this week, we can still win and still keep pick 2.
Yeah,
because they're 10% higher than us on the ladder and 4 points ahead. If we win, as long as we don't smash Hawthorn, which I highly doubt that'll happen, and West Coast don't get smashed, then we should still be able to win and keep pick 2.
As long as we get Josh Smiley, I don't care. 194 centimetre bull midfielder.
Yeah.
Let's
give me Smiley or Jagger Smith, I'll be happy.
Correct.
Although Jagger Smith had about 17 disposals today for 50 metres gained. A lot of sideways and backwards action, which people were concerned about.
Very good kid, and he's spent some time training with us in the off-season, this pre-season, so he knows the club. So we generally do pick at least one player that trained with us in the off-season too. So
that's true. All right, well, we've got the Hawks coming up this weekend. But more importantly and bigger than that is Dusty's 300th game, which super glad that he didn't play against Adelaide. So up yours to the media and anyone who was pissy about that. And what I loved about how that played out was the amount of Richmond people on socials firing back and flying the flag, clearly highlighting that 2 weeks earlier Geelong held out Tom Hawkins so he could play his record-breaking game at Geelong, which is absolutely and totally fine. I don't think there's any issue with clubs managing it like that. It's up to them if they want to do that, and it risks them getting the 4 points, and that's on them, and that's the decision they've got to live with. But I can completely understand why. But as a supporter, I've got no regrets. Obviously, we won the game, so it didn't matter anyway. But no regrets about the club holding over Dusty. And at the end of the day, it was a 5-day break, and even if it wasn't his 300th this week, he probably wasn't going to play anyway. And I just want to say, McClure, you're an absolute knobhead. If anyone saw the argument he had with Richo on 3AW about this, just an absolute piece of crap. Anyway, that's a different story. If you want to have a bit of a laugh, go. Yeah, he was just crapping on, just being an absolute dick about it. And Richo put him in his spot, rightly so. But Dustin Martin, 300 games, an absolute stalwart of the club, will unquestionably have a statue of himself up at Punt Road when time's done. I'd love the fact he's doing zero media this week. And yes, we obviously threw a Hail Mary to try and get something out of him, just as a bit of an up yours to the mainstream media. It didn't happen, but that's okay. But yeah, I'm wrapped that he's sticking to his guns with that as well, because he's been treated horribly by them over the journey. But what a superstar Dusty's been for the club, CB. And everyone in chat, feel free to drop in your favourite Dusty moments. I know there's going to be an absolute bucket load, but what a man to get to 300 games.
Firstly, all reserve seating's gone. I tried to get the reserve seat on Friday. All gone. So the best you can do, and this is what I've had to do to get my 2 tickets, was just go on your app, if you remember, click on My Card, and you can assign yourself 2 general admin seats there for the game. That's about the best you'll do. So if you're trying to go into Ticket Tech and get a reserve seat or have you, forget it. All that's sold out. So the best you can do is GA at this stage, which suggests that ticket sales have been very, 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 very strong. On Dusty, I mean, he's I was actually saying to one of my sons today, he's probably the best I've ever seen in my time at the club. Just all I can say is thank God we picked him. Thank God he stuck with us. And it's been 14, 15 years of absolute stellar memories. And whether he goes on after this year, I don't care. He's filled my cup. Like, he's just been hitting a bit. And So proud he's a Richmond man. And this no media thing really, again, highlights why he's a Richmond man, because it's not about him. He's not putting himself ahead of the club or the team. He's going to do the basics for the Richmond fans on the Richmond website. Jack Rewalt's doing a thing, and the club will release media excerpts.
I think on Wednesday there's something coming out from the club on Wednesday.
7:30 on the club website.
Yep.
And I just thank you so much, Dustin, for being a part of our club and our lives.
Yeah. Great.
Easily the best player that's come through the club in my time of supporting him. To be fair, I've only been supporting him since '95, so it hasn't really been great. I think we've had Richo, and we've had Nida, Campbell, but Dusty is head and shoulders above those guys in terms of skill, and not just that, but it's his willingness to bring his teammates into it. He's probably the most unselfish player that you will see playing AFL. He's always about his teammates. Even when he's won his Norm Smith medals, straight away, straight under the jumper. Doesn't want it flashing out, things like that. It's just, again, all about the club, all about his teammates, his skill, what do we say? And just absolutely brilliant. In terms of favourite memory, can't go past the 2020 grand final against Geelong. And that last goal he kicked, number 4, with the comparisons between Dusty and Danger over the best part of a decade, just sums it up why Danger is not fit to lace Dusty's boots.
You've never done anything in a final.
If Geelong had have taken Dusty over Danger, they would have had 4 or 5 flags. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, no, it's a fair call. And to your point, CB, as well, about the team first mentality. The grand final against the Giants is another perfect example when Marlon got into the right spot, and he was just willing him. It wasn't very, when you watch it back, it wasn't very subtle, the head movements. He was trying to get him to lead in that space, but it was never about him. It was always he wanted to get Marlon his moment as well on the back of his debut game. He's just, a superstar player, and I'm really, really enjoying all the highlight packages and things that supporters are putting together throughout the week. So, make sure you flood your socials with Dusty highlights. If you've made a montage or you've got some cool images, put them out there, because the bloke deserves as much love as possible. From the
Ando and Simon Wallace have been doing some really good work on Twitter and putting a lot of excellent clips. And there's a couple of other ones I've seen as well. But Ando and Simon have been dominating on the Dusty clips so far, and they've been tremendous. And I will say this on KB. I understand what people are saying. But I'm 50, and I saw the tail end of KB's career. So, unfortunately, I didn't see him in his halcyon days of the 70s. But for Kevin Bartlett's CB speaks for itself. And if people were to say that KB would be the greatest Tiger to live, that would be certainly right up there. But as far as my lifetime, and I came in as a Richmond supporter back in 79, 80. A little whippersnipper. In reality, I saw us basically hit rock bottom, and then be at rock bottom for about 37 years. So to me, Dusty's got the nod, and just for that reason.
Yeah, I see the arguments for KB, and fair enough. You look at his resume, everything that he achieved. I still maintain he was robbed in the 1980 Brownlow medal. Did not poll a single vote. Which is the biggest robbery of Brownlow in history. But you have a look at the team that KB was surrounded by for a lot of his career. Burke, he had all of, Clay, he had all of these fantastic players. Roach, Hart for part of it. You look at the teams that Dusty won flags with.
Getting smashed.
Lee's just come up with Dusty, KB, and Lobb in that order, according to CB.
You look at what Dusty's achieved with the team that he had, a team of battlers and B and C graders, according to Oppo. I think that's a bigger achievement than what KB achieved with the team of stars that he had surrounding him.
Yeah, no, I think we're blessed to have had both at the club, but which was always Dusty's ability to step up in the main moments when it was needed most, time after time, is just what separates him from the rest for me. So, and Rich Charles was obviously he obviously goes to a lot of happy times in a lot of shit years, but Dusty just plays football at a different level than everyone else. So, But with that said, we've got the Hawks this week for his 300th. And look, they'll be looking to spoil the party, unfortunately. And to their credit, they're actually in a reasonable bit of form at the moment, knocking off the Giants. I think they've won 3 or 4 in a row. And they're now 1 game outside the 8. So they've got themselves back into a good spot. And I'm not sure if Mitch Lewis is due back in this week or not. But speaking of our own ins and outs, Prestia, I feel like he's going to be a little bit 50-50 just given the type of injury, or it's not maybe not an injury, but soreness and age. But he's going to do everything he can to get up for this particular game as well. So let's assume he passes fitness test and plays. If Lynch is back in, who's out for him? And is there anyone else? Is Hopper still a few weeks away? And who else would come back?
He'll be after the
Rioli is
bye.
still a few weeks away. So we reckon
Hopper will be back after the bye.
After the bye. So is it just likely to be Lynch at this stage? No. We think the only inclusion.
Lynch and
Dusty back in.
Yeah.
And who's coming out?
I reckon it'd probably be Prestia. I wouldn't risk Prestia as much as Prestia wants to play. The fact that he can't get through a single game of football without picking up a knock or a niggle, give him a week off. Give him another week to recover. Straight in for Dusty, and then you'd probably have to say Samson Ryan out for Lynch. I do think that Cozzy probably play a lot better in regards to with Lynch than what Ryan would.
I'm with you, Grocker. I'll tell you my problem is with Samson Ryan. He's a one-effort player. And the problem is he'll compete. He'll compete in the air, what have you. And as soon as he doesn't glove it, the ball hits the ground, there is 0 second effort. And that's something he's going to have to learn and develop in his game. Whereas I just think I agree with you. I think Kazitsky at least competes at a ground level. And that's the only reason I would give Cozzy the nod over Samson Ryan this week is I just think from competitiveness. So Lynch in, Ryan out. And to be honest, I'm playing Prestia. I can't with the sub. I think Tyler Sonzi could be absolutely spewing. And he may... Actually, no, sorry. I'll take it back. As much as he kicked 3 goals last week, I think probably Cumbo comes out for team balance. Cumbo out, Dusty in possibly. And you leave Sonzi in to play a... I don't know. Yeah. Sonzi or Cumbo out for Dusty.
The reason I'd keep Cozzy in is obviously we know Lynch is going to park himself deep. That's where he plays out of the square, which means that they're going to have 2 or 3 defenders hanging off Lynch. And Cozzy plays much better when he gets a run and lead at the footy, which is what he's going to do because Lynch is going to take defenders away from him. He's going to open up that leading lane straight out from goal. Whereas Ryan, again, plays very similar. Just he wants the ball on his head. And his one-handed marks on the weekend were just horrible.
Yeah.
And, I think my only reason why I would keep Ryan in, but I think I need to ask this question first. Ned Reeves, I'm pretty sure for Hawthorn went off injured and actually got subbed out last week, who was their ruckman. I know I'm not sure what the injury is and if he's out for any length of time, but the only reason I would keep Ryan in would be to have the backup ruck with Nank to sort of have 2 ruckmen to wear him down. But I'm not actually sure if he's playing and if who their backup ruckman would be if he's out. So if he's out and they haven't got another known ruckman coming in, I know Marbs can obviously do some backup rucking as well, like we've seen. But maybe that works then with Samson Ryan out if Ned Reeves is out as well.
Let's see.
I'm pretty certain he got subbed. And Cumbo would be unlucky to get subbed with after
back.
3. Meek is he ready to come back?
He was listed as a test on the 4th of June. So he's just listed as a test last week. So if he didn't play last week, if Reeves is injured, he'll definitely come back.
So I'd almost be inclined to keep Samson Ryan in them because if they're going to have Meek and Chol, for example, chopping out, I think it'd be good to have some help for Nank. But
Samson Ryan versus Mabia Chol, isn't that a battle of the big heavy boys who like to crack in hard? Holy shit!
He had a good game last week.
He's been decent for him.
His last game was quite good. He was actually attacking the contest really well and did some nice things. To be fair.
After that Port final, mate, I just redlined him. Ready.
But how are we gonna knock off the Hawks here? Because they are. I don't know whether the informed team in the comp is a little bit too excessive, but they're one of the informed teams because they're definitely getting some wins where they need to without Mitch Lewis as well. So forward line wise, getting Lynch back's a godsend when you're sort of looking at Frost and Sicily. Sicily, a very good intercept marker. Frost, let him kick the ball at all cost. But is it? I know we say it every week. Is it another midfield battle? I mean, Newcomb, Dillmore going through the midfield. Connor Nash goes through there as well. You know, if we've got our guys up and about like last week, we might be half a chance if we can keep our pressure rating up.
Yeah.
Can I just say this too? Last week, I think it was up to half time. Graham had 19 pressure acts.
Yep.
And so Graham's game was off the charts, believe it or not, defensive wise. I think the game will be won, believe it or not, through pressure acts. If we bring the pressure that we brought to Adelaide around the ball and the pace around the ball, I think we can open them up. We can't afford to let them have a spare guy behind the pill. We can't afford to let them get out. We've got to absolutely, like we did Adelaide. Actually, and the funny thing is about the Adelaide win, we actually had 2 good weeks before that. So we were on the verge. Our form line had been improving. So I think, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. Pressure around the pill. Scoring will be our issue still. Like I know Cumbo bobbed up and kicked 3 and Mansell 2, but can we get another multiple goal scorer again this weekend? That's the question.
Yeah, obviously, Lewis is still 1 to 2 weeks away, so there's every chance that he's not playing. Which
I don't think he'll come back.
Certainly helps. The one thing with our forward line and our key forwards, I think we're going to need a contribution to the scoreboard from our midfielders. We're going to need them to really get forward and kick goals. I'm looking at Taranto's the main one. I think Taranto's usually pretty good at bobbing up for some goals. Shea Bolton, if he goes through, definitely needs to hit the scoreboard. Yeah. I reckon Dusty's going to hit the scoreboard. Like
on Bolton, but on Bolton's close. He's on the verge. He's thereabouts. He's on the verge of having one of those games where he kicks 2 or 3. You can see it. Yeah.
And it's funny because I called it last week that he'd be played out of the goal square for periods of the game, and after halftime, he just seems stroll straight out, stands right to the goal square with Jordan Butts. I found that funny, but yeah, I think again their back line is very solid. You know, with Sicily with the intercepts, Mansell needs, if Sicily is playing, which I'm not sure. I know he copped a bit of a knock. If Sicily plays, Mansell has to go to him. Mansell or Cumberland, one of those Nicholas, really get under Sicily's skin because he's a hothead.
Oh, and it's easy to do.
He's likely to do what Cumbo did. If you really get into him, he's likely to snap. So we need to do that. And the main one for me for Hawthorn is Hardwick. Hardwick has been
good up forward.
Unbelievable form for them.
Dillmore as well.
Yeah. So if we can, I think our midfield has been a lot more competitive with Taranto back, Prestia back. Prestia plays, that's neither here or there. But if we can match them in the midfield, I think that's going to go a long way. They've got some outside speed, which is always a concern against us, getting on the spread. So we need to be careful of that too.
Yeah.
How do you think the matchups are going to look up forward or down back for us? Kalshir Deer, whilst very raw, has a very good ability to take the ball at its highest point. He's a good run and jumper at the ball. Obviously, Gunston's on the older side, and Charles playing their number one forward. Who goes to who? I mean, because they're not exactly giants, right? So I think any of them could play on any of them if that makes sense. But what are we most beneficial to have Bolter play on? Probably Marbs being their number one forward, I'm guessing.
No, I'd go Bolter on Gunston. I think Gunston's probably their biggest, strongest one. Miller will probably. I reckon Miller takes Chol.
Who sits deeper?
Chol usually the square.
Yeah, well, it has to be Miller.
So I was thinking Broad for Gunston.
I'd go Broad on Kalshir Deer.
I don't think he's got the height though. At the highest point, Deer's going to outstretch him, and I think it's going to be a lot of interchanging matchups, which is going to be interesting to see. I think ultimately my thought was that I think we have the defenders to cover their forwards. I think we actually do, and because it's been one of our stronger parts of the team, I think we actually do match up on them not too bad. There's the smaller forwards like Dylan Moore could get off the chain. Ginnivan, God knows what's going to happen with him, but I think from their tall perspective, I think we might be okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think we've got them covered.
We need to probably play our smallest player in Ginnivan because we know he likes to drop the knees and duck the head quite a lot. So if we've got a player who's about 150 centimetres tall, that might be able to go with him and just tackle him around the waist consistently.
And Will Day, good shout. Someone said Will Day's one to watch as well. Ralph Smith on Will Day could be a really good matchup.
Absolutely. I think Rioli gets Ginnivan though.
Well,
I agree.
The thing about Ginnivan is you can expose him on the run.
Yeah, and that's why I like Rioli on him.
Yeah.
Or even short. It'd be Rioli or short.
Yeah, probably short on Ginnivan, actually.
Yeah. But just get low. Don't get sucked into this slipping
go for the hips.
Over the shoulder stuff. Yeah, go for the hips.
I'd much rather let him have the hands free than tackle him high. Let him get a handball away rather than give him a shot at goal.
But who would have thought that 12th versus 17th on the ladder could be nearly the game of the round?
Yeah.
Yeah, and despite their form and our form, I actually think with the players we're getting back, we match up okay. I think our four defenders match up okay. It's just can we break even in the midfield and give ourselves a chance? But like we all, it's our ability to score that can be the one that hurts. But lunchtime, surely we start Dusty in the square and try and get him the first goal. Just quick clearance, get it down to him. Or do you start him in the guts?
Start him in the guts. Just let him do a big Tory forward.
He'll either play out of the square or he'll be out of the midfield and he'll get the first clearance and burst away.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who Tom is in the chat, or he's come up with some unusual commentary.
No, we do
see you, mate.
And Morris Rioli, was he what injury? I can't remember what injury he had. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a hammy, wasn't it?
Ankle.
Hammy. Wasn't it the syndesmosis? Yeah, the buzzword for ankle injuries now. All right, well, with that said, let's get a tip including margin for this one. Feel free to put them through in chat as well. CB, what's your thoughts?
Tigers to get up by 15 goals.
15 will take that. 15 goals. Jesus Christ.
No, 15 points. 15 points.
That's to go double figures in that week.
Grok?
Tigers by 17. I think it'll be relatively close.
Yeah.
I reckon I like Adrian's thought here. Tigers by 4. I'll say Tigers by 15. It's the battle of the Michaels household here with my wife being Hawthorn. So, yeah, we're getting along to the game, thankfully, but hopefully the Tigers get up, and we just don't want the Hawks to ruin the party because that's traditionally our job to ruin the bloody other parties. But, hopefully we can get the job done. But congratulations again to Dusty on 300 amazing games, a super, super servant of the club, and ultimately owes no one anything. He has done more for us than we could ever have hoped for, along with some other players and coaches as well. And we wish him all the very best in his upcoming milestone game, and hopefully the Tigers get the job done. And it'd be good to get lunchtime back, hopefully, and we can hopefully see some more action down forward with him. But we're back next Monday, hopefully with another win under our belts. And until next time, go Tigers.
Go Tigers. And thanks, Melbourne.
Oh yes, thanks. Yeah, Jesus, thanks, Melbourne. My goodness.